33 minutes after the hour, America. It's Hugh Hewitt, and the Ohio State University Buckeyes are headed to Indianapolis this weekend to crush the Wisconsin, whatever. They don't have a name, right? They don't have the Wisconsin football team, doesn't have a name. Mike Gallagher joins us. He is a representative of that great state of Wisconsin. What is the Wisconsin mascot again, Mike Gallagher?
Badgers.
Oh, the Badgers. Yes, the Badgers. I'd forgotten because it's been so long since they've been in the playoffs. When was the last time they were in the national playoffs?
You let us not start off on such a sore foot. I know you're just trying to avoid the fact that Freddie Kitchens wearing a Pittsburgh started a T-shirt caused your Browns to lose another game.
This is called, you're doing a Nancy Pelosi. You're changing the subject. The subject before us is the Big Ten, the championship game, and you're changing the subject. And I wanted to talk about the wager. I mean, what is there worth having from Wisconsin about this game? I mean, I'm willing to wager.
Let's wager some delicious Wisconsin cheese for whatever. I don't even know what your home state produces.
Genesee beer. I think you'll like Genesee beer. And I don't drink beer, but you might. And, we could also exchange caps. Do they actually have a merchandise with Wisconsin, a logo on it, the bugger, whatever it is?
They do sell merchandise. We've advanced to that point.
All right. Well, let's put a cap on the line, a ski cap on the line. A Buckeyes versus. You have to send me. You have to wear a Buckeyes cap if we win. I'll wear the Wisconsin Badger cap if that miracle happens in Indianapolis. Fair deal.
But you got to give me the points. I think the line is 16 points.
No. Oh, that is an admission against interest, Mike Gallagher. Oh, my gosh. Asking for the points in a championship game. Have you no shame, sir? Have you no shame? Hey, look, I want to get to the important thing, which is not the important thing, but it's what you guys are doing. You're not doing anything except impeachment this month, are you?
That is unfortunately the case, which is a shame given how many important things need to be done. Foremost among them is passing the new NAFTA USMCA. Congressman Scalise also mentioned yesterday there are a lot of sort of singles and doubles in the realm of prescription drug pricing we could pass. We still have a National Defense Authorization Act that hasn't passed. Oh, by the way, funding for the government is going to run out in a couple weeks. We are at risk of saddling the Defense Department with yet another continuing resolution. So we continue to compile a growing list of jobs that simply haven't been done by Congress because everything is getting sucked into the vortex of impeachment. And it is really sad. And what I'm hearing from Northeast Wisconsin is you guys just need to get back to work. Impeachment is a distraction. It isn't going anywhere anyways. And I really think this is a shame, the way that Nancy Pelosi has run the House and the way she's distorted the entire institution.
Let's play a little bit of Adam Schiff's opening. This is so funny to me. I won't play a lot of Adam Schiff because I want to keep my audience, but I love this opening. Cut number 9.
So we should care about this. We must care about this. And if we don't care about this, we can darn well.
We should, we must, if we don't. That's begging people to care about Mike Gallagher, Congressman extraordinary, what they do not care about. This is the biggest flop since Heaven's Gate, and someone told me on Twitter, millennials don't know what Heaven's Gate is. For their benefit, the worst movie flop ever. This is a flop.
Well, I think further undermining Schiff's claims are the fact that for 2 years he spent that time in front of a TV camera telling us that impeachment was imminent, that there was irrefutable proof of collusion with Russia, only to have the Mueller report come out and find no evidence that there was collusion with Russia. And so his claims are really undermined from the start. This has been historically rushed in terms of now seizing upon the Ukraine issue to advance impeachment. And the fact is, I think the ground is shifting underneath his feet. Polling on impeachment has stayed roughly the same throughout the initial stage of the process. But in swing states like Wisconsin, recent polling shows support for impeaching and removing the president has actually fallen 4% since Schiff took his case to the American people. And to anyone who spends time talking with common sense Wisconsinites, this much is obvious. But I think it should be clear to all that hardworking people just want Congress to focus on doing our job, not this partisan theater coming out of the impeachment hearings. But that's easy to lose sight of if you spend all your time in Washington or in front of a CNN camera.
Well, I do believe he's going to become a punchline. And that you will hear in future caucuses. Don't go all Adam Schiff. Don't pull a Schiff on us, which is to invest heavily when the sunk costs are enormous. In this case, the Mueller report. Don't double down on sunk cost extravaganzas because they just don't work. You're just throwing good money after bad. They tried the Mueller, and this thing is just a disaster. But Nadler's going to make it worse. It's hard to believe, but the Democrats are going to double down on this, Congressman. Do any of your colleagues know what they're doing?
Well, there were at least two Democrats that voted against authorizing the impeachment inquiry. I wouldn't be surprised if that number doesn't grow by the time we actually vote on articles of impeachment. And as I think Tom Cotton and others have pointed out, a second fastest man in Congress, Tom Cotton, I should note, there will be more Democrats that vote against impeachment in the House and the Senate than Republicans even willing to entertain voting for it. And so I think this is a real risk, particularly for all of those Democrats who won in districts that Trump carried in 2018. I would imagine they're getting a lot of negative feedback right now. So this comes with serious political risk. The second thing I'd say to you is the reason you have to ask yourself, why was the Intelligence Committee even involved in impeachment in the first place? Historically, this is not a committee that has jurisdiction over these issues. It's not set up to run an impeachment inquiry. It is simply because Pelosi did not want Chairman Nadler to lead it, correctly assessing that Schiff had a better grasp of the facts than Nadler. So I would expect the case to get even weaker in Nadler's hands than in Schiff's hands, if you can even believe that.
Now, Congressman, I want to switch subjects on you. Over at the WashingtonPost.com, I have a new column up on China. Now, I don't pick the headline, but the headline they picked is Trump has done the world a favor by highlighting China's communist regime. I don't mind the headline, but the bottom line of my column is Trump gets a big win for focusing on the fact that we have a one-on-one peer competitor in China. That competition crosses all boundaries, all silos. And this week marked a huge deal that no one has covered because of this Schiff show, which is that Russia turned on the new Power of Siberia gas pipeline from Siberia down to the heart of Xi's China. I think Xi has played the Russia card on America, and we aren't even paying attention.
Well, I agree that there's been a sea change in D.C. over the last 3 years. I actually think this has been the biggest change in our foreign policy since the late 40s, early 50s. And what's remarkable about it, and I give the president and his team enormous credit for the fundamental premise that's in the national defense strategy and the national security strategy, which is to say we have to organize around great power competition with China. What's remarkable is that that is actually now a bipartisan position. There is no one, in other words, even the president's most vocal critics are not taking issue with that dramatic change he has brought to U.S. foreign policy and national security strategy, which creates an opportunity for us to create a new bipartisan consensus and work together in Congress on this, the most important issue of our time. As it pertains to Russia, I just would caution, I think there's a growing narrative within the Republican Party, or at least on the fringe of the Republican Party, that suggests we should be looking to do sort of a reverse Nixon. We should be looking to balance with Russia against China. I just would point out that particularly in the Indo-Pacific region, our interests do not align with Russia's. In fact, they overlap with China, which is what you sort of correctly highlight in your article. And that our challenge right now is to simultaneously deter by denial both Russia and China. The good news is that Russia is weak. If we muster up the courage and will and work with our allies, we can do this. But China is going to be a competition that plays out for at least the next 3 decades. And it's one that we're not foreordained to win. And I can't tell you in good faith that we're winning it right now.
I like to quote myself, which is a habit of talk show hosts. What Trump has done, I wrote in the column, in his nearly 3 years in office is fundamentally to redefine the U.S.-China relationship by emphasizing what my radio colleague Dennis Prager first gave voice to as a general rule for competing interests, quote, clarity before agreement. Now, I talked to Admiral Stavridis in the first hour about Vietnam. I didn't bring up Malaysia, Singapore, and I did not bring up our old ally one time at war combatant Japan. The linchpin of our Asian strategy is Japan, and it may involve Vietnam. And I think that you folks on the Armed Services Committee have to start taking codels all the way over there and spending a lot of time with our old ally Japan and our new ally Vietnam.
I was there on a CODA with Armed Services in the last Congress, and then recently went to Australia. Interestingly enough, what we heard from the Aussies, our closest ally in the region, is that Indonesia is an area where we need to be focusing a lot of our future attention. Will be a
Oh,
rising
interesting.
power. And so if you sort of get the relationship with Japan, Vietnam, the Philippines, and Indonesia right, it's almost impossible for China to beat us, because in contrast to us, where we draw upon a vast network of allies and partners, China's really not interested in allies and partners. They're interested in creating vassal states that are completely subservient. So we have a strong hand to play, but it's an open question as to whether we're going to play it well. I would say the most interesting part of this competition is whether we can convince our allies, not just in the Indo-Pacific region, but in Europe, to follow us when it comes to securing the future of 5G networks. And if we lose that competition, it's going to be very, very hard for us to succeed over the long term with respect to China.
Last question, Congressman. I do not bother our friend Robert O'Brien, the new National Security Advisor, because the guy's busy, but you're a member of Congress and you have jurisdiction over the Navy. Are you pushing him to remember that he's an expert on the 355-ship Navy and we need one?
Well, I bother him all the time. I have no guilt about doing so.
Well, you're a member of Congress.
Robert, answer my calls, Robert. We used to be friends. No, he's doing a great job, and he understands the importance of the 355-ship Navy. He's going to be at the Reagan National Defense Forum this weekend. I'm going to be there, and I'm really eager to hear what he has to talk about. But there are three things we need to do to win this competition with China. One is to rediscover the lost art of ideological warfare. Two is to decouple key parts of our economy from China, particularly foundational technology. But the third and perhaps most important is that we need a bigger Navy. We need a bigger Navy. We need more small surface combatants, and we need more subs, in particular in the Indo-Pacific. And the Navy is not offering a vision or a plan for getting us there. They're reversing course, and that would be a tragedy, and we will lose this competition if the Navy continues down this course.
I'd forgotten the Reagan Defense Forum is this week. Good on that. Take my column, clip it, and pass it out, please. Congressman Mike Gallagher. Follow him on Twitter at Rep Gallagher. Check your email. I sent you something. And America, stay tuned. I'll be right back.